Hello and welcome to Horizon, where we look at how the stories today will affect your tomorrow. How healthy are you? That's the big question each candidate is having to answer right now in the US presidential election. Trump's doctor put out this very odd statement saying, oh, he's the healthiest president ever. He's going to be, nothing could possibly go wrong. And yet, when NBC pressured him and MSNBC, which, you could say a little bit biased, but they pressured him and his doctor was like, well, got a little bit rushed. Some of the language may have rubbed off. Essentially saying that Trump more or less probably told him what to write and he wrote it, which is very odd, but that's a whole nother discussion. And Hillary, she's really some records, but I think there's more of a concern about her health than Donald's. Donald's real big issue right now is still his tax returns. Now, when I was talking to accountants, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot that's there, other than people want to know how much he's worth, possibly to hold everyone like, hey, this guy's really rich. However, I think that there's both of them should really come clean the best they can. But with this health thing in particular, I think it is important to understand how healthy are you, particularly to have so much stress and any other ongoing medical issues that people should know about. Now, my proposal to fix this would possibly get former Surgeon General, maybe someone from the end of Bill Clinton, early George Bush. Obviously, one of the issues you're going to run into here is making sure they're neutral. But by being a Surgeon General or someone that's respected by both candidates, hopefully we can find a middle ground saying, okay, here is the absolutely non-political bill of health, because I think people have a right to know. And there's a lot riding on it, just like there was a lot riding on the Hillary Clinton trial, but we made it through that. I think that if we could find some way to just neutrally assess people's health, have it out there, then we can move on and talk about more substantial issues. Moving on to Trump. Now, Trump's really been engaged in this reset. And this whole idea of a reset is really to try to undo the Trump that almost got him here. The Trump that was the bare knuckle fighter that, was really his campaign managers trying to, Corey Lewandowski in particular, Paul Manafort a little bit, but just Trump versus the world. And, that definitely won him the Republican vote, without a doubt. But now it's sort of, as we're trying to get a little bit more center, Kellyanne Conway has been brought in to try to moderate that. And one of the biggest misconceptions, and you see, like, why is he speaking to just white people? Why is he speaking to the membership committee at Augusta National? It's because for a lot of these speeches, his audience is not actually who he's talking about. His audience is predominantly middle-aged, middle-income white women, and he's trying to really appear, hey, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm not going to be as much like or an asshole. I'm going to be someone that you can respect, someone that you can understand, and that I don't want you to think I'm racist, and I don't want people to accuse you of being racist for supporting me. The issue is it may be a little bit too little too late. I mean, if you're still on the fence and that sways you, I mean, great. But I think that there's so many people who've just taken the ideological sides, and it's just very hard to see that switching. And you're starting to see some of the poll numbers get brought up, and I think that that's probably means that it's working, which is really surprising to me. But at the same time, I think there's more and more issues with Hillary's judgment that I think are causing people to say, well, Trump can't be as bad as her, as opposed to this reset really helping Trump all that much. Now, also, too, looking at this sort of racial outreach, particularly to the African American community, he's really trying to have this focus on inner cities. To really say, you've tried the Democratic way, for most of you it hasn't worked, how about try something different? Now, it's very hard, though, because so many of the leaders of these communities are so wrapped up in that system that they're not going to say to change it. You're going to have families that are saying it's broken, but their leaders or their spokespeople are just very content with keeping the things the way it is, keeping the system in place. You see this in Chicago and LA, and just a lot of big inner cities that you hear associate with kind of the downfall of America. And I think some people there can be open to it. The problem is, again, there's so many things to say. It's like, do you have enough time? Do you have enough time to get out there to outreach people? I mean, these people who are working two jobs, the people who don't necessarily have time to read every single story, like, you and I may necessarily get to. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he approaches this. I think him going to Detroit is a great sign. Him trying to get on African American television networks could potentially be a good sign. I don't think there's really anything bad that can come of it. Now, we'll see if it gets better, if it gets worse. Who knows? I mean, he may stick his foot in his ass. I think when you saw the issue with Dwayne Wade's sister or cousin getting shot and him coming out and saying, oh, people will vote for me, have a little bit of respect, have a little decency, let it go, perhaps say, look, this is clearly a problem, it's really unfortunate, instead of saying, oh, look at me, I'm so great. So still, a long way to go with that, but hopefully it'll get a little bit better. Now, Hillary, I think her best thing at this point is honestly just to hide, make a speech maybe once a week, every other week, She, at this point, the more she talks, the more she hurts herself. She doesn't really add anything to the conversation. She clearly is bad at answering anything that seems to be unscheduled or not to her specifications. So I think that she should just ride on her coattails and hope that Donald Trump implodes, because if not, I don't think she has enough to really convince people that she's a stabilizing force, or that somehow she's honest, when there just seems to be more and more issues coming out with her health, her emails, Huma Abedin. It's just nonstop. There's no positive story that seems to be coming out of her. So her best thing is to try to stay out of the news as much as she can, just let Donald hopefully blow up, and then she can potentially win. Now, the other thing that she really has done a good job is she's really got a strong campaign manager in Robbie Moody. Just push him out there, have him deflect. Conservative talk shows and news sites will rip it to shreds. But in my mind, if I was in her campaign, I would say that's the best defense: is keep her hidden till an election. Hope she can survive. If you don't survive, I'm not sure you're to win, because if she gets basically sucked into Trump's war, or basically tries to fight Trump, as so many people have tried, she will lose, because she is not used to basically bare knuckle brawling as much as Trump can. And I think you've seen in the past that, okay, she's come under fire a little bit, but I don't think she's ever really quite had to deal with something like Trump. I mean, you see his debate prep is he's not taking the traditional prep of knowing every single one of his answers. He's going to come in there with his message of this is who I am and this is how I'm going to fix it. And he's probably going to go throw a couple of haymakers at Hillary and hope that one of them sticks. So it's really interesting to see how that goes. I think that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So definitely be sure to be watching. I'll obviously have some commentary on it. We'll see where we go from there. Now, moving on to something more interesting. Let's look at tech. Now, last time I talked about how Uber basically waved the white flag on China. Now, WeChat, who essentially is the Facebook, Uber, and just so many different things of China, has essentially waved the white flag on the rest of the world. Now, I think what this is going to show is just like China's companies, or China makes it hard for US and foreign tech companies to come to China, so many Chinese companies are having a hard time going somewhere else because they're just not used to competing. They're so used to everything being on, oh, we have Renren as compared to Facebook, we have WeChat compared to WhatsApp. There's just so many disparities that you're almost having to retrain and relearn all your basic systems because your knowledge is only good for China. And that's not to say it's a problem, because China's such a big market, but I think you're just going to see them going money and money and money, because it just seems nothing's working. I know Alibaba invested in an innovation center. They were trying to start this U.S. push. It just doesn't work because it's just a completely different corporate mentality. So I think to see them give up is a very bad sign for the future of Chinese tech companies going abroad. I know Xiaomi's also struggled. I really think the best thing is for a Chinese company to succeed in the future is going to have to be for the Chinese government to allow some competition, because that will really force the best product in China to win. If China can produce the best product, then yeah, perhaps it can do well. Perhaps that it can expand abroad. But when you're just so insulated, and yeah, it's great to have one China, but it's so hard to expand beyond that, particularly with so many investors that invest in these companies. They're looking for a global company, even if China is becoming the world's, if not is the world's biggest market. It's just a different mentality I think needs to shape and change, that there's really not a clear sign if or when that's going to happen. Now, next is Pokemon Go, and if you've seen anyone kept trying to catch them all, I personally am so glad to not hear any more about Pokemon Go. It was one of those things that was really kind of interesting or funny to see. Oh, look, I caught a Pikachu. Oh, look at me, a Bulbasaur. But let's be honest, got over. Maybe you want to play Pokemon? Play Pokemon games. They're still classic. They're still fun. But just kind of walking around with your phone. Oh, here I got my Pokestop. Oh, here's my Pokeball. Just, I don't know. I personally find it a little bit weird. And you've seen that of, oh, this was fun, and now it's fading. And that's with everything. Words with Friends, Candy Crush, all these games that you probably remember hearing about, people talking about. No one talks about them anymore, just because it's so hard to stay hip, stay trendy. So you got some money on that, or you hope you had fun with that. But I think it's really on to the next one. I'm really excited to see some more stuff with virtual reality and augmented reality. I think Pokemon Go really was a good positive step forward for the industry. A lot of people see there as an interest if you do it right. But I'd be curious to see what's the next step. Maybe Pokemon Go takes another evolution. Who knows? So we'll stay tuned to that. Just kind of let you know that your Poke Days may be numbered, or they may not. Maybe it'll morph into something else. We will see. And finally, in tech, let's talk about Tesla. Wow, third fastest car in the world as an electric car. That is a stunning accomplishment. You're really seeing Elon Musk's vision again start to come together about how he really wants to transform the way we operate, really transform what electric cars can do. And Yeah, I was listening to the news this morning and talking about, oh, this is a really good sign that electric cars are going to go everywhere. It's going to be a lot more ubiquitous, and that's great. But in my mind, there's still this huge issue of I think some people like an electric Tesla because it's a Tesla. I don't necessarily know how much the electric fact that plays into it as much as just this idea of I want to drive this really cool car. Because you're seeing bigger companies come out with electric cars that have ranges of 200 miles, but I mean, personally, I don't want to wait for my car to charge for 30 minutes to an hour. I just want to be able to go fill up some gasoline to keep going. I mean, great if I had a rapid charger, but we're just not really seeing those everywhere yet. Maybe in California, maybe in New York, but sort of elsewhere in the middle of America, the rest of the world. But technology is just not there yet. It could be, but it's just not. So it'll really be interesting to see how that cheese works and if they can kind of take it a little bit more mainstream. Moving on to non-tech. In case you haven't noticed, the Olympics, they're over. I mean, personally, again, I thought that it was just sort of, eh. There was some interesting stuff. Usain Bolt obviously still killing it. U.S. gymnastics team, women's killing it. Men's not so much. Sort of the downfall of China that they were just to come in and hope. I don't know if hopefully is the right word, but potentially just set a lot of records with not gold medals. I mean, it came away with 3 bronzes. So obviously that entire lifetime of not having a life, it didn't pay off. And I really think it's the time, particularly for China, to reassess their system, make it a little bit more open again, trying to give people some sort of balance of a life so it's not all or nothing, and really just rework how they compete. Now, if they can do that, who knows? But again, it's just another potential idea because I think there is huge potential there. You obviously have Great Britain and a lot of other countries, did well, but again, it's I just left with a feeling of who cares. There was no really major upset. There was not really as much of a feel good story. Some of that could do with not having any more Bud Greenspan. I really wouldn't know if there was a better good feel good story, but from watching the NBC highlights and just reading about it, it just seemed to be a lot of oh here we go, here's some more sports, or oh here's some more events. Woo! Nothing really too exciting. Now we also got to end with Ryan Lochte showing his butt. Now, Ryan Lochte has always been a little bit weird, a little bit strange, so I don't really know why people are like, oh, Ryan Lochte says this, it must be true. But I also could sort of understand where he's coming from. If you're drunk in a situation, someone pulls a gun on you, you may be confused, particularly when you're Ryan Lochte, who, may not be able to fully assess the situation. I think his best thing is just stay away from Brazil, just hopefully let it pass. I think a lot of people forget about it, recognize, apologize, good on him. But it's just a very weird situation. It reflected badly on him, reflected badly on Brazil. So I just don't see any positive evolution other than just moving on and more or less kind of pretending it didn't happen. And the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight is the Dilma Rousseff impeachment. Now, she is the former president of Brazil who kind of got a lot of this Olympic and World Cup stuff going with a lot of sort of flag, grief, etc. involved, and really just kind of created a really messy situation. And one of the issues that's going on with her impeachment right now is the fact of where do you really draw the line? Do you say that, okay, it was just her, it was like her cronies, and so we'll persecute them? Well, then they could talk and they could point the finger here. And so you're seeing this issue that I was reading about in The Guardian this morning that was talking about how the people who are accusing her are also themselves under investigation for corruption. So it's almost as like, is the tea kettle calling the pot black? Who knows? It is just a very weird situation that's going on there. I think it's very unfortunate that you saw, 6 years ago or so that Brazil was, on the up and up. They were led really strongly by Petrobras, the oil company, and now it just seems to be, explosion. So, can it be fixed? Maybe, but will it be fixed? Probably not. So we'll have to see how it really affects the rest of the world, see if there's any kind of fallout globally. I don't think so. Maybe it'll be something that people are a little bit more on edge at. The G20 meeting that's about to start in China, maybe something to discuss about it. Okay, let's sort of figure out either hey how to hide what we're doing better, or let's just hopefully be better governments. So that's all we have. Just a short episode today. Hopefully, kind of get the ball rolling again. Get some good stories, get some good ideas. Any ideas, leave them in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.